You know, whenever I need a break from being the coolest person on the whole World Wide Web, I like to get out and about in nature like this. Going biking, going for a hike, maybe camp for a day or two, seeing the world in its natural, preserved state. It's crazy to feel how different a place like this is from our everyday lives, you know? Out here, there's no internet, no algorithms, no discourse, and especially no arguing with strangers online. This place sucks. It's weird, really, how conversations online differ from how we engage with others face to face. Countless phrases, memes, and approaches to communication in general are totally unique to the internet and its functions. Even things that we might say in our everyday lives can take on different significance on the web, breathing a new digital life into certain ideas or words. When something like that becomes a mainstay in both our physical and digital mediums of communication, odds are it signifies something important. Especially recently, a common phrase I've heard in person and even more so online is separate the art from the artist. It's a quote that, on paper, is relatively agreeable. Obviously, the work that humans create is severable from their own existence. Things we make and do could dissolve well before our deaths, or they can last for generations beyond our time on this planet. It's especially persuasive when it's deployed in the manner it usually comes up in, a counter-argument to scrutiny regarding one's enjoyment of certain works. It's been around a lot longer than the internet, and people seem to find it pretty reasonable. And to be honest, yeah, I kinda understand its mass appeal. The internet's a big place, man. A lot of people with a whole lot of opinions, interests, ideas, that's what makes it special. Obviously, I'm the smartest person on it, but that also means I'm smart enough to not tell you what you should and shouldn't like. There's already enough of that on this website. With that being said, art is a human product. It's something that we uniquely can produce as human beings, in whatever form that ends up being. The infinite breadth of what art can be is always funneled through our experiences as living, breathing things, crafted with intent and our own personal experiences and thoughts in mind. Despite what some might say, you can't algorithm art, generate it at the push of a button. Its very definition is attached at the hip of our human experience. And yet, more and more often these days, I hear so many opinions and thoughts on artists or people or whatever that are prefaced with separating the art from the artist. And after thinking about this for a long time, I'm really not a fan of this line of thinking, for a number of reasons. The way that this concept is flung around so much has made me realize something. Not only is such an action diametrically opposed to what art definitionally is, doing such a thing would directly hamper our enjoyment and understanding of the works that we enjoy. Very frequently, our understanding of the people behind the art we engage with underscores how we approach its messages and intent. If we were to approach a piece of art with no context behind what provoked its creation, it would hamper the depth of our understanding and how we engage with it. Art doesn't exist in a vacuum, and we shouldn't pretend like it does. If we did, we wouldn't be able to properly experience something like...
We're Whitney and Asher Siegel, and this is Fliplanthropy.
I curse you.
What did she say?
What the fuck are you doing, Ash?
You told him we're not having sex?
These properties are mine. Espanola is mine, okay? End of story.
They're gonna leave. They'll shut down.
We need to get the show on the air. We need to get the show on the air, and then it'll grow organically from there.
Once you put it between the bread, it's all the same.
Good. You put good, mister. There'll be consequences. Oh!
Your culture, you believe in curses or
The fact that the curse exists feels like a triumph in itself, which is weird considering the massive names attached to it. An original miniseries written and directed by Nathan Fielder, co-created with Benny Safdie and starring Emma Stone, sounds like a surefire success, even in today's competitive television market. Obviously, there's no shortage of incredible shows nowadays, inventive, cinematic, and engaging programs available in more ways than ever before. And yet, despite all these diverse, high-quality TV shows, there's been nothing that made me feel quite like what The Curse did. The Curse is not an easy watch. It's abrasive, coarse, it's a work of art that doesn't go down easy, and it was never meant to. I gritted my teeth watching Asher and Whitney stumble through interactions and generally be like the worst people ever, trying to grapple with their own failures and ugly truths. And I, for one, absolutely loved every minute of it. Now, I wasn't all that surprised when the show received pretty polarized reviews. It's not really a crowd pleaser or something you want to watch with your parents. However, I still found myself a little confused as to why I had such a strong positive reaction to it while others didn't. That is, until I reevaluated how I was approaching The Curse in the first place. Nathan Fielder's work up to this point has had a lot of recurring motifs. His big breakout show, Nathan for You, for example, revolved mostly around ridiculous, real-world stunts and how the subjects of each episode would react to Nathan's plots. However, at the heart of a lot of the comedy lied these persistent questions. Questions about how we as people can fit into the bizarre social circumstances that come our way. As the show progresses, it becomes clear that Nathan's character isn't just fucking with people for, like, a bit. His approach to his subjects reflects his own misunderstandings of the real world, and once the cameras turn off and the show comes to an end, he has to piece together how to fit in this chaos we call life, just like his guests do too. This motive behind Nathan for You wasn't an accident. Nathan himself has said that his own alienation and social anxieties inspired a lot of what Nathan for You aimed to achieve. An exaggerated version of himself pushing people with similar hesitancies to engage with their own quirks head on. From such absurd, surreal situations, sometimes our most authentic selves come into focus. The same thing goes for Nathan for You's follow-up, The Rehearsal. Portraying basically the same persona, Nathan goes even further to question his identity and what his creative decisions say about him. By going through all these elaborate measures to rehearse parts of our real lives, Nathan's character is implying that he views life as something procedural, transactional, a faux means to an end rather than an active, engaged experience. Just like its predecessor, The Rehearsal takes the same sort of ridiculous concept and slowly turns a mirror on itself, questioning the why behind the very premise and what it means for Nathan's persona to be doing what he's doing. These recurring themes in Nathan's two previous shows guided me along throughout The Curse, acting as a mini-map as I navigated this hellscape of horrible people doing just horrible things. Asher and Whitney have no clue how the real world works, how to engage with the poverty they supposedly care so much about, how to make any sort of positive impact on the world, rather than just their own ignorant ideas of positive impacts. Their fundamental flaws become more and more unavoidable as they try to dodge the reality of what they're doing here in Espanola, until it quite literally rips their life apart. Without taking the step back to really change and grow as people, their pursuit of their convenient facade ends in a disaster so outlandish it could only have been thought of by Nathan Fielder. I can totally understand how, if someone isn't all that familiar with Nathan Fielder and his previous projects, they would be totally turned off by The Curse. A large part of my strong emotional response, a conflicted, layered, but nevertheless burning admiration for the show, came from my own interpretation of its contents in the context of Nathan Fielder's artistic history, and it really helped cement my love for the project, when I otherwise might have just been lukewarm about it. This isn't an isolated incident. In ways that we sometimes just take for granted, we consider the history behind what led to certain artistic works all the time. You can listen to Abbey Road without knowing anything about the Beatles, sure, but isn't the reason why they got to that point beneficial to the listening experience? Wouldn't that help explain some of the choices, the subtleties, the characteristics that make that record so unique? What about By the Time I Get to Phoenix by Injury Reserve, where the death of former bandmate Jordan Groggs played a major role in the themes and tone of that album? Or Hail to the Thief, a record fueled in large part by Thom Yorke's disdain for the Bush administration, as well as his frustration with the US's needless warmongering in the Middle East. Wait, hold on a second. The same thing can be said about Kid A, too. I'm not sure if anyone else has ever said this, but that album is like possibly the biggest left turn in musical history. If we don't keep in mind what Radiohead was doing before that record and how they approached their music, how could we appreciate Kid A to its fullest extent? If we disregard the artists in all of these cases, it can cripple these works beyond understanding. I'm not saying that you need to know everything about a piece of art's formulation in order to interact with it. But, I think we can all agree that it helps, right? That it can be a good thing. Certainly we can agree that we shouldn't bar any consideration of artists alongside their art, right? It'd be bizarre to proclaim that we need to separate the art from the artist when doing the opposite has a positive impact. Which is probably why nobody does that. This mentality, despite its theoretically far-reaching consequences on how we engage with art, doesn't really get asserted as some steadfast conviction on how someone approaches everything they watch, read, or listen to. Separate the art from the artist, in my experience at least, is used almost entirely situationally, when the person or group of people behind a piece of art has a controversial past that might reflect badly on the standalone work, or those that might enjoy it. I'm not saying that everyone who's ever tossed around this phrase while trying to justify a cringe Spotify Wrapped is some recalcitrant evildoer, hoping to uproot art and society and democracy and Raising Cane's chicken fingers. Like I said earlier, when it does come up, it's normally just used to sidestep uncomfortable conversations. But if there's one place where we should act like, adults, and talk about art in depth, warts and all, it should probably be this brain-rotting superhighway of information and car accident videos that we call the internet. With the phrase being tossed around so liberally, without much thought as to what it would really mean if it were applied across the board, maybe it could have some nasty consequences if we let it go too far. Seeing art as a commodity, especially because I don't think it really needs to be this way. What I think would foster a healthier, more active engagement with art is straightforward acknowledgement that, maybe Roman Polanski is pedo Hitler, but still explaining why we might be drawn to certain movies, albums, shows, or anything in between. Whatever these characteristics in art are that we find to be so compelling, so did the people behind it. By not ignoring who it is that helped create something we enjoy, not only can we keep our minds open as to how this context could be positive in other cases, but could also help us get to the root understanding as to why we might enjoy something, what narratives, concepts, or ideas make us stop and think. And I, for one, think that's a pretty valuable consideration. Okay, so here's the part where I embarrass myself a little and talk about something I really like that has some baggage. Practice what I'm preaching here, But if I go through with this, you gotta promise to never question my judgment and opinions on anything ever again until the end of time, okay? Who am I kidding? You wouldn't do that in the first place, right? I'm not sure if you've noticed this, but I'm a cracker. And like many crackers, I had a real affection for Kanye West in my teenage years. Look, I don't have much interest in talking about this guy nowadays, considering how Galaxy Gas has downsampled his brain into a Game Boy camera photo at this point. I just don't think there's much I can add to the dialogue about all the ridiculous, ass-backwards shit he said over the years. But even if nowadays I don't care at all about him or his garbage newer albums, nothing can really change the fact that I once loved his older music, and in turn, his younger self. On one hand, I could continue to stream Late Registration, ignoring how unrecognizable Kanye has become since he made that record, and engage with it in a vacuum, which might be serviceable to an extent, but wouldn't I be missing out on the bigger picture, the reason why I kinda kept spinning his records in the first place? I liked Late Registration and T-Lop and Twisted Fantasy as pieces of music, sure, but also as pieces of Kanye's persona too, These records were about him, his me against the world narrative, his rise to fame, his most grandiose, maximalist, and conceptual ideas. There's a reason why every song he makes is about whatever crazy shit was going on in his life at the time. It's an extension of himself, revolving around him, fundamentally inseparable. He's the underdog, just like me, the white guy. If you take the Kanye out of Kanye, it's not really Kanye anymore, is it? Or for a lot of other artists for that matter. By keeping in mind how stupid the guy is who made this music, does that mean I think twice before listening to Touch the Sky? Well, a lot of the time, yeah. But when the alternative is a gimped understanding of what made this music so attractive to me in the first place, well, I think I'm fine with hesitating a bit before pressing play. if it means that I'm giving this work of art the exact same kind of consideration I give one that would be positively reinforced by doing such. Maybe I'm just naive. After all, I'm asking for a more nuanced conversation on YouTube.com, so who's the real fool here? Some people on this fucking site didn't know what the Odyssey was before Christopher Nolan said he's making an adaptation. But I think that, given how this specific topic doesn't have the same weight and controversy attached to it as the average internet discourse, maybe there's an opportunity for a lot of us to thoughtfully reassess our approach to art in a way that benefits ourselves and those that we converse with. But this is not the end-all be-all on this topic. I'm not even touching on the issues of ethical consumption or trying to quantify artistic value versus the compensation they receive. That's an entirely separate can of worms that, to be honest, I'm not sure I feel comfortable diving into right now. But if there's one thing I am pretty sure about here, it's this starting point for a larger conversation. Anyone can make something, regardless of what they've said or done in the past. Just like how there's art made by generally good people, there's art made by people who, well, aren't so good. And if our choices in discussing said work are either some temporary embarrassment and awkward moments, or pretending like none of this has any real bearing on the messages, intentions, or choices that went into a work of art, well, I'm ready to have those uncomfortable conversations. As long as you are too. Hey guys, sorry that took way longer than I expected. Are we still down to go check out that pizza place?
I really don't see why we have to go here tonight. I mean, is it really that big of a deal if this stupid coupon expires?
Hey, I've never even been there before. This whole pizza coupon was a Jess idea.
Thought I already explained it to you guys. I worked way too hard for this thing to go to waste. You're lucky I'm even giving you guys a chance to get in on this.
Jess, I don't think you're the target demographic for this thing.
Salem, I had to read Catcher in the Rye to earn all the stickers. I am getting this fucking pizza.
It tastes burnt and undercooked at the same time. I don't know how you mess up like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, even for free, I can see why this pizza was free.
Okay, I get it.